I booked the place for 5 nights. It was tucked away just outside a town I'd never heard of, with a description that said, private escape, clean air, isolated, no checkout stress. At the time, I laughed at that last part. No checkout stress. Didn't realize how wrong they were. The house looked fine in the pictures. Nothing fancy, just a cozy 1-bedroom space with tall windows, a fenced garden, and a note that said host lives on the property in a separate building. I was fine with that. I didn't plan to talk to anyone. Day 1, arrival. The house was quiet. There was no lockbox, no smart lock, just an old-school key taped under the mailbox with a sticky note that said, "Enjoy your stay, text me if you need anything. Kelly." That's how I knew the host's name. Inside was clean, fresh towels, a loaf of bread, and a jar of jam on the counter. I looked out the kitchen window and saw a small structure about 50 feet away behind a fence. Looked like a shed or a tiny cabin, probably where Kelly stayed. The note had a phone number. I texted, "Got in fine, thanks." She responded instantly. "Glad. Let me know if you need anything at all." Normal. Friendly. No weird vibes. I unpacked, made some tea, and slept like a rock. Day 2, small things. The next morning, I made breakfast and noticed the back door was unlocked. I was sure I'd locked it. I always do. Still, maybe I forgot. Later that day, I found my toothbrush already sitting by the sink. I hadn't unpacked it yet. I chalked it up to muscle memory. Maybe I did it without thinking. That evening, I saw someone through the fence. Just a shape. Probably Kelly. I waved. They didn't wave back. Something about the house had shifted. Not the structure, the feeling. The bread on the counter had mold. The kitchen window now faced the wrong direction. The power flickered every few hours, just enough to be annoying. And I kept hearing footsteps at night. Slow. Always near the back door. At 2 a.m. I packed my things and messaged Kelly. "Hey, just a heads up, I'm going to head out early tomorrow morning. Everything's fine, just got some stuff to handle back home." She responded 2 minutes later. No. That was it. Just no. The door wouldn't open. When I woke up, I couldn't open the front door. Not locked. The handle wouldn't turn. I tried the back door. Same thing. Windows? They slid up 2 inches, then hit something solid. I checked my phone. No service, no Wi-Fi, no signal. I wrote a note, stuck it to the glass, and waved at the cabin outside. Nobody waved back. The host responds. That afternoon, the power went out. The fridge stopped humming. The lights snapped off. The house was silent. Then my phone buzzed. 1 bar. 1 new message from Kelly. "You said 5 nights," I replied immediately. "I know, but something came up. I really need to leave." No answer. 10 minutes later, a single text came through. "You should rest. The house takes time to adjust." Trapped. That night I tried everything. I moved a chair to the door and pushed, tried to take the hinges off, searched for tools, opened every drawer. Most were empty. But one had a set of keys. None worked. They didn't match the locks, not even close. Some were old, rusty. Some were shaped like they were made for drawer or cabinets, but not for this house. Still, I kept them in my pocket, just in case. That morning, I opened a drawer I swear had been empty. Inside were photos, old ones, faded. Same house, different furniture, different windows, same walls. In one photo, someone was standing by the front door, not looking out, looking in. Another photo showed the kitchen table. A woman sitting with her back turned. The back of her head looked like mine. I flipped the photo over. Nothing written, no date. I put it down and walked away. The shed. I tried to leave again. Same locked doors, same blocked windows. I grabbed a chair and looked out toward the host's cabin. Still no sign of movement. That night, I messaged her again. "Please, I want to go. I'm not trying to cause problems." She replied immediately, "You're not a problem. You're part of the pattern." Day 5, final morning. At sunrise, the front door was wide open. No sound, no warning, just unlocked. I grabbed my stuff and ran to the car, started the engine, looked back. The cabin door was open too. Someone was standing in it, waving, not fast, just a slow, steady motion, like they'd done it before. I drove until I hit a gas station, got signal again, pulled up the Airbnb app. The listing? Gone. My past trip? Vanished. No messages, no host profile, nothing. When I got home, my bag was heavier than when I packed it. Inside the front pocket, a guest welcome card. "Thank you for choosing to stay with us again. Same time next year?" I booked the house last minute. Work had been brutal, and I needed a few days to disappear. No calls, no messages, just me, some frozen meals, and silence. The listing was simple: private rental surrounded by forest, peaceful, disconnected, ideal for solo guests. No Wi-Fi, no TV, no neighbors. The photos showed a small house. Wooden floors, stone fireplace, old furniture. It looked peaceful. The kind of place where time slowed down. The host's name was Kelly. Her profile had one review that just said, "Nice stay, very quiet." That was it. I booked 3 nights. Day 1, first impression. The drive was long, mostly empty roads and then gravel. By the time I got there, the sun was low. The house sat by itself, surrounded by trees. There wasn't another building in sight. It looked older than the photos. Same shape, same windows, just more worn. Like the pictures had been taken years ago. I let myself in with the code the host sent me. It smelled like old books and pine needles. Everything creaked when I walked, but nothing felt broken. There was no internet, no reception. Just me and the forest. Perfect. The guest book. There was a small wooden table near the front door with a candle, some postcards, and a guest book. You've probably seen one before, a notebook where people write stuff like, "Thanks for the stay," or "Hope to visit again." This one was almost empty. Only 3 entries. I flipped through casually, just curious. The first was from someone named Tom. A single line. "Nice fireplace, weird noises at night." The second just said that didn't sleep well, still a nice place. And the third, it had my name, my full name, in my handwriting. 3 nights, very quiet, would return. Same spelling, same signature. Same messy way I write the capital R in my last name. But I'd never been here before. I stood there, holding the book, just staring at the page. No date. No comment. Just my name. That night, I sat in the lounge for a while, trying to brush it off. Maybe someone else had the same name. Maybe I'd forgotten coming here. Maybe I was tired. I made some tea, lit the candle, and read for a bit. The wind outside made the windows click every few minutes. The fireplace barely worked, but it gave off enough warmth. At one point, I thought I heard something in the kitchen. A soft scrape. But when I checked, nothing had moved. I didn't sleep well. I kept thinking about the guest book, about how familiar the signature felt, about how sure I was I'd never been here. I woke up at 3:12 a.m., no noise, no light, just the feeling of being awake. I stayed in bed, eventually drifted off again. Day 2, the door. The next morning, I made breakfast and explored the house more. There was a back hallway I hadn't noticed before. At the end of it, a locked door. No label, just a basic doorknob that didn't turn. I tried again later that afternoon. Still locked. I checked the Airbnb listing again to see if it mentioned a locked room. But without service, I couldn't load anything. I messaged Kelly, the host, asking about it. My phone just showed, "Message will send when connected." I shrugged it off. Some houses have storage rooms or closets hosts keep locked. It's not that weird. But still, I wanted to know what was behind it. The book changed. That evening, as I was passing by the table, I glanced at the guest book again. There were now 4 entries. A new one had appeared at the bottom. Quiet house, still watching? No name, no signature, just that one line. I didn't write it, and no one else was here. I flipped back to the page with my name. It had changed too. My handwriting was still there, same signature. But now it said, "Staying again, forgot last time." I closed the book and walked away. That night, I left the lights on, not because I was scared, just because I didn't want to be surprised. I stayed in the lounge for hours, pretending to read. At one point, I heard something behind the back door, not footsteps, not voices, just something settling. I didn't check. I went to bed just after midnight and stared at the ceiling until sleep finally came. Day 3, the door was open. I walked down the hallway the next morning, not even thinking about it. But when I got to the end, the locked door was open, just a crack. The air from inside was cold. I pushed it open slowly. It led to a small, square room, no furniture, just walls. On one of them, a mirror. Not mounted, just leaning against the wall. I stepped closer. The reflection showed me, of course, but the lighting behind me looked wrong, too bright, like a different room entirely. I turned around. The room behind me hadn't changed. I looked back into the mirror. Same thing. But now my reflection was smiling. I wasn't. I backed out of the room and shut the door. It clicked shut, locked again. I tried to leave. I packed everything, didn't even eat. Just wanted to be gone. But when I opened the front door, there was no signal on my phone, no map, no GPS. I started driving anyway. The road out looked the same until it didn't. I reached a dead end where the trees were too dense to pass. No side roads, no way through. I turned around, thinking I missed a turn. Drove for another 10 minutes and ended up back at the house. The clock. I sat in the car for what felt like an hour. When I looked up at the house, the light in the hallway was on. I hadn't left it that way. I walked back in. The candle on the table was lit again. And the guest book now had a 5th entry. Coming back again, still can't leave. There were night. I stayed awake all night, heard soft movement from the back room. The mirror door never opened again, but I kept seeing shapes in the reflection of the window. Not people, just outlines, like someone had walked past, but never showed up on the other side. Final morning. When I woke up on the couch, the sun was rising. My phone had service again, the listing was gone, the host account deleted, and the last photo in my camera roll, one I didn't hand take, showed the guest book, open to the first page, my name written 3 times. I never left a review, I just drove away. This time, the road took me home, but every now and then when I walk past a mirror, I think I see the house behind me, and I keep checking my front door to make sure it's still locked. I rented a small house in the countryside for a weekend, nothing fancy, just a place to clear my head. The listing said 2-bedroom home with full kitchen, cozy reading corner, and private garden view. The photos showed a clean, well-kept home with wooden floors, a sunlit window bench, and simple furniture. The host's name was Ian, and the reviews were all short and positive. Perfect stay. Quiet area. House matched the photos. Clean and peaceful. I booked it for 3 nights and drove out after work on a Friday. Day 1, arrival. The drive was long but easy. The place was tucked off a gravel road behind a small group of trees, no neighbors in sight. The house was just like the photos, white trim wooden porch, 2 chairs out front. Inside, it smelled clean. There was a folded welcome note on the counter and a basket of tea bags and granola bars. The living room had a small couch and a lamp by the window. The kitchen had updated appliances. Everything was as expected, mostly. The only thing I noticed right away was that the second bedroom wasn't shown clearly in any of the photos. There was a door near the back hallway. I opened it. The room was empty. No bed, no shelves, just clean floor and white walls. Maybe the host had recently removed the furniture. No big deal. Day 2, the walk. The next morning, I went for a walk around the property. There was a narrow path through the trees, but it didn't lead far, just wrapped around the side of the house and back again. That's when I noticed something strange. There was a window on the outside that I hadn't seen from the inside. It was on the far left wall, about shoulder height. From outside, it looked like a small bathroom window, but when I went back inside to check, there was no room on that side of the house, just a solid wall. I walked the hallway twice. No doors were closed, no hidden spaces. That window didn't connect to anything. The empty room. Later that day, I opened the second bedroom door again. Still empty. But this time, it felt wider than before. Like the wall across from the door had shifted a foot further back. I checked the floorboards for gaps or marks. Nothing. I opened my phone and looked at the photos in the listing again. The second bedroom wasn't pictured, not once. Not even a mention in the description beyond 2-bedroom home. I messaged the host, "Hey, just wondering, is the second bedroom under construction? Noticed it was empty." No reply. I left the door open and moved on. Day 3, layout trouble. That evening, I sat on the couch and pulled up the listing again. I wanted to check something. There was a photo showing the view from the kitchen toward the front door. I stood in the same spot and looked up. The hallway in the listing photo was shorter than the one in front of me. It had a side table and a coat rack. Mine didn't. My hallway had 3 visible doors. The one in the photo had only 2. Same angle, same lighting, but different layout. I reopened the second bedroom door for the 3rd time, still empty, but now it had a small wall-mounted hook near the corner. I hadn't seen it before. I hadn't missed it. It wasn't there. Rearranged. The next morning, I woke up and made breakfast. I walked the hallway again and froze. The door to the second bedroom had moved, not far, just about a foot closer to the kitchen, but I was sure of it. I could see where the wall color changed slightly. A small square where the paint looked brighter, like the door had once been there and now wasn't. I opened the door. Same empty room, same shape, but the light switch was now on the opposite wall. I hadn't touched anything. No one else had been here. And still, the house didn't stay the same. No host response. I messaged Ian again. "Hey, just checking in. I think some photos might be outdated. Noticed some layout differences." This time, the message bounced. It said the host was no longer available. The listing was still live. I could see it in the app. But the chat was gone. Leaving early, I packed up that afternoon and decided to leave a day early. Nothing bad had happened, but I couldn't relax. I kept wondering which version of the house was real. The one in the photos? The one I walked through? Each time I looked, I left a short review. Mostly accurate, nice area, quiet. That's all. Aftermath. 2 days later, I got a booking confirmation email for a different trip. Same town, same check-in and check-out dates, but a different address, same host name. I never made that booking. I opened the Airbnb app, no new trips, just my completed one. I clicked the address from the email. It led to a house that looked exactly the same, but with different windows, a different layout, a second bedroom with a bed in it, and a review from someone else posted 2 weeks before I stayed. Weird layout, thought I was going in circles, loved the peace and quiet though. I haven't booked a countryside trip since, and I don't trust listings that say fully updated layout anymore, because sometimes the layout keeps updating itself. I rented a small house in the woods for a long weekend, just me, no friends, no meetings. I needed to slow down, unplug, and clear my head. The place was listed as a quiet escape. 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom, a kitchen, and a short hallway leading to a closet. The photos were basic, but it looked peaceful and clean. The host's name was Ray. His profile had just a couple of reviews, all saying the same thing. Very quiet, great location, would stay again. The price was low, and the calendar was wide open. I booked 3 nights and packed light. Day 1, getting settled. The house looked exactly like the photos. It was tucked away between some tall trees. The driveway was short gravel, and the front steps were made of wood. I grabbed the key from a small box by the door and let myself in. The inside was simple. The walls were light-colored, the floors were wooden, and the windows let in soft evening light. It had a cozy, lived-in feel. Nothing fancy, but comfortable. There were 3 visible doors: the bedroom, the bathroom, and a hallway closet. I unpacked, had some tea, and turned in early. The first night was uneventful. Day 2, something feels off. I woke up around 7 a.m. and made breakfast. The house was completely quiet, not even wind through the trees. It was peaceful. Later that morning, while walking back from the kitchen with a book in hand, I looked down the hallway and paused. There were now 4 doors: bedroom, bathroom, closet, and 1 more. It was at the very end of the hallway. A small door, identical style, same wood tone, same silver handle. I couldn't explain it. I was sure I had seen only 3 the day before. The hallway wasn't long, just a few steps end to end. I would have noticed a 4th door, but maybe I missed it. I opened the door slowly. It led to a room about the size of a walk-in closet, empty, with smooth walls and a small light on the ceiling. It wasn't locked. It didn't smell musty. It just was there. No markings, no switches, just a clean, blank room. Double-checking. I pulled up the booking app and checked the listing again. The photos showed the kitchen, bedroom, bathroom, and 1 hallway with 2 doors. I scrolled slowly. Nothing showed the extra room. There was also no mention of it in the description. I clicked the host's profile, still active, no option to message, just a leave a review button. Evening, I didn't use the new room. I left the door open, but I didn't step in again. That night, I sat at the small table and read until past midnight. The hallway stayed dark. The air was still. Nothing strange happened, but the extra door stayed in the corner of my eye. Every time I glanced toward it, something about the proportions felt off. Like the hallway was slightly longer than before, just enough to be noticeable. But I couldn't explain how or why. Day 3, rearranged. The next morning, I got up and went to make coffee. As I passed through the hallway, something stopped me. The closet door was now across from the bathroom. It hadn't been there before. I stood still and looked at all 4 doors, same number, same style. But the positions were different. I checked my phone gallery. I'd taken a photo of the hallway mirror on day 1. In the photo, the closet was on the right side. Now, it was on the left. I went outside, walked a few loops around the house to clear my head, and came back in. Still the same, 4 doors, slightly rearranged, no signs of damage, no signs of recent construction, no wires, no tape, no tools. The layout had changed, subtly but clearly. Day 4. Leaving. I packed up early. I took one more look down the hallway. The 4th door was open again. The inside was still empty, but something about the space inside looked deeper than before, like the room extended a few feet further than it had on day 2. I didn't step in. I closed the door, left a short review that just said "Quiet Stay," and locked the house behind me. After the trip back home, I checked the listing again. Gone. No photos, no host profile, just an error page. I dug through my browser history. The listing link now redirected to a general search page. My trip wasn't even listed under past stays. The receipt was still in my inbox, but the listing had vanished. I still wonder what that extra room was. Maybe it was always there, maybe it wasn't. But sometimes when I walk through my own hallway at home, I find myself counting the doors, just to be sure. He said I broke in, I said the same, but the house already knew both our names. I got to the Airbnb a little after 5 p.m. The host had sent the usual message. Self-check-in, keys under the planter, make yourself at home. The listing was for a quiet 2-bedroom cabin, surrounded by woods, no Wi-Fi, no cell service, no neighbors for miles. The photos were peaceful, dusty sunlight through the windows, a cozy fireplace, a deck with 2 chairs and a view of the trees. Exactly what I needed. I was burned out. No sleep, no peace, just emails, stress, noise. I just wanted silence. I unpacked a few things, made some tea, and sat on the deck watching the trees sway. I didn't even lock the door that night. I felt that safe. That was my first mistake. Morning. Not alone. I woke up to the sound of the front door creaking open, not banging, not slamming, just gently opening, like someone had slowly pushed it. I sat up in bed, heart pounding. Then I heard footsteps, soft, heavy, heading toward the kitchen. I grabbed my phone, no signal. I got up, careful not to make a sound, and crept into the hallway. There was a man standing in the kitchen. He had a backpack on the counter, a travel mug in his hand. He looked just as confused as I felt. He turned and jumped when he saw me. Whoa, sorry, I thought this place was empty. I stared at him. It's not, I booked it. His expression changed. No, I did. Double booked? We both pulled out our phones. No signal, no internet, no way to pull up the receipts. But we remembered the same host. Same listing title, same check-in instructions. Everything was identical, except we both thought we were the only guest. He introduced himself as Aaron, mid-30s, writer, quiet voice. Not sketchy, not aggressive. We agreed to sit down and figure it out together. Look, he said, I'll just leave if it makes you uncomfortable. Maybe I can head back into town and try to contact the host. I nodded. But then he paused. You said you got in using the key under the planter, right? Yeah. There wasn't a planter outside when I got here. I blinked. I put it back after I unlocked the door. No, I found the key inside the mailbox. That's what my instructions said. Time shift. We stepped outside to check. There was no planter, no mailbox, just the deck, a gravel path, and the trees. Like the house had changed overnight, or like it had picked which version to show us. Aaron looked just as unsettled as I felt. Okay, let's both leave, drive into town, get signal, sort it out. We both grabbed our stuff, headed to the car. My keys weren't in my bag. Neither were his. Both sets, gone, stuck together. We spent the next few hours trying every way we could think of to leave. The car doors wouldn't unlock. The house doors wouldn't open from the inside. The windows slid just enough to tease us, then stopped. Aaron tried climbing out the bathroom window, said it felt like something was pressing back. We were stuck, together, in a house both of us had booked. The list. That night, we found a drawer in the hallway desk. Inside, a sheet of paper, handwritten list. Column A, names. Column B, dates. My name was there. Aaron's too. Beside both, it said present. Below our names, two more. No dates, no notes, just next, next. Aaron picked up the sheet, flipped it over. On the back, only 2 at a time. Day 2, the same dream. That night, we both slept in separate rooms. In the morning, I woke up, and Aaron was sitting at the table, pale and quiet. I asked if he was okay. He said, "I had a dream you were standing outside my door. Just standing." I froze, because I'd had the exact same dream, but it was him standing outside my door. Neither of us said much after that. The backpack Aaron found a backpack in the closet that didn't belong to either of us. Inside, clothes, a notebook, and a phone with a cracked screen. The notebook had a name in the front, Lena. We didn't know her. The pages were filled with scribbles. I wasn't supposed to come here alone. It won't let me leave until the other one arrives. The house resets, it's always 2. Don't fall asleep at the same time. We looked at each other. Neither of us had brought the bag in. It had just appeared. The theory. We started piecing things together. This place wasn't booked. It didn't matter when you arrived. Once 2 people were in, it locked them in. And when someone left, someone new would arrive. But how do you leave? That night, Aaron went to bed first. I stayed up, sitting by the fireplace, thinking. I must have fallen asleep in the chair. When I woke up, Aaron was gone, his door wide open, bed empty, bag gone. I called for him. No answer. I opened every door. Nothing, just gone. And then I heard it. Footsteps outside. I opened the front door, unlocked now, and saw a woman standing on the steps, backpack slung over one shoulder, confused look on her face. She said, "Sorry, I think I booked this place. Is this the right cabin?" I didn't answer. I just stepped aside and let her in.